Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casmon, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. If you are enjoying this show and getting some great value for your investing goals, let us hear about it. Leave us some honest feedback with a rating and review. It helps us, but it also helps other listeners find this show for their investing goals. Now, we got a great show today. We're going to be talking to Lior Dolinski. Hey, in multifamily syndication, speed and efficiency is key. We want to make sure that we have accurate documents and we're clearly communicating updates to all of our partners, but sometimes that could be a challenge. The great thing is technology has evolved to help us through this process. Today, we speak to Lior Dolinski to talk about technology and how it can help multifamily syndicators drive more efficiency and professionalism with our business. We also talk about AI and how to leverage AI, not just with ChatGPT, but all the way to having your own vertical AI agent. If you want to learn how to scale your business and drive efficiency, check out today's episode of Multifamily Insights. Let's welcome to the show, Lior Dolinski.
Hey, John. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today and tell you a little bit more about our vision and work and what we're up to with Agora. I'm assuming a lot of your viewers will have a lot of affinity with the subjects that we're about to discuss, anything from capital raising to back office work and reporting. And so maybe I'll just start with a quick background about myself.
So that's exactly it. So Leo, exactly. I went very high level, right? So I just talked about your stuff at Agora, but rewind the clock, man. Like who are you? Give us a little bit more on like how you got to be one of the founders of Agora and tell us more.
Right. So I'm 29 years old, and my background is mostly in tech and product. So I grew up in Israel, and at the age of 18, you just have to serve in the military. You just have to do it. It's mandatory. So I ended up serving in the cyber intelligence unit. It's something equivalent to maybe the US NSA. So a lot of technology, a lot of intelligence, cyber. And the years I spent there was really the basis for my technological understanding for building really complex and great products. And during this time, I also met my co-founders, Noam and Bar. Noam is the CTO of the company, Bar is the CEO. And this was really the time we got connected, both on just a personal level and became really good friends. And on the professional level as well, that's what we did, basically. We've built products together for years. It wasn't real estate products, it was other products. But this was like the basis for my understanding of tech and product in general. After that, I continued to study computer science in the academy. And funny story how we actually came about to creating Agora. So while still in school, me and Bar kept in close touch. And in one of those weekends, we just sat for coffee to chat. And back in the day, I was really big on blockchain technology and crypto and all of that. And that was like years ago before it became super mainstream and every grandma on the street now knows what's the Bitcoin price. So it was a while back. And I really loved the technology, the philosophy behind it, and just the investment as well. So I just kept talking about it with everyone I knew. And I talked about it with Bar. Now, Bar is coming from a real estate background. Uh, his family, both from the mother side and father side, are really big developers here in Israel, uh, doing a lot of construction, residential, industrial, both in Israel and in Europe. So he really grew up into real estate. And so in this conversation, we had very clear and natural intersection between tech and real estate. And we've always wanted to do something together. We always laughed about, okay, we have to start something together. And that was the first early point of what we call Agora today. But it took a lot of time to get where we're at today. We started with a really different idea, which combined blockchain and real estate to do something super complex. But in a nutshell, it was how can we take real estate assets, big commercial real estate assets, and kind of liquidate them or a portion of them like you do an IPO to a private company, and then provide the liquidity to the owner and provide access to retail investors that don't have access to such like large commercial assets, and do it on a platform and like make the ownership on the blockchain, et cetera, et cetera. It was a pretty ambitious and wacky idea, and we started to go for it. So I ditched my dorms in the academy and moved to Bar's Couch in Tel Aviv, and we just started running on this crazy idea for about a year. We've actually raised the first few hundred thousands of dollars on that idea. And we were lucky enough to get amazing investors that believed, I think they believed more in us than this wacky idea, because a lot of startups eventually pivot, and early investors understand that as well. So we spent a lot of time just finding a model that this idea would work in, just a regulatory model. And fast forward a year later, we managed to do that. Again, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of attorneys and tax regulation, real estate. It's like the most complex thing to achieve because it's both securities and real estate registry and tax stuff. It was a complete mess. But
Yeah.
a year later, we ended up actually doing some sort of a proof of concept.
Okay.
So long story short, we took a hotel in Europe, and we managed to do like an IPO. This hotel is a proof of concept, and to do that, we took a couple of dozen of friends and family that would take
Okay.
part in this experiment, and to make that happen, we built a platform. So the investors could go in and actually like sign the agreements and go into the deal and see their blockchain tokens now. And we built a back office for ourselves, a really lousy back office, I might say, that we weren't even intending on showing anyone. It was like our internal tool just to manage, because it was very natural for us not to manage things in Excel. And once we did that, we took this successful pilot, and we came back to all those real estate investment firms that we were talking to earlier. And we told them, hey, look, we managed to do it. We tokenized an asset. Can you give us more assets? And we'll do the same for you. And long story short, no one wanted to give us more assets. It was a very, very hard thing to achieve as two young founders with blockchain wacky idea asking for very large assets. But in all those meetings, they were super interested in this lousy back office tool that we built for ourselves. And this is the genesis of Agora. This was like the first.
Let me jump in here, Lior. Yeah, let me jump in here because I want to make sure everyone's following, right? And I want to dive in deeper into Agora. But, when we talk about your story, you talked about really growing up in Israel, right? And when you turned 18, just the laws, you got to join the military. You meet your partner there. You grow up. You are in this tech space, really doing a lot of technology work from a protection standpoint, right? You're in there working a lot, and you're building these great relationships and developing this technological expertise. From there, you and your partner, you talk about real estate, you talk about tech, and you mentioned there was this intersection with tech and real estate. And that's really, really important because that's something most of us recognize. We're in this world right now where tech is something that is here. It's not a thing in the future. It's not something you need to think about 5 years from now. It's here today. And if you're not leveraging technology, you're going to get left behind. You recognize that with your partner, Infuse Tech and Real Estate. And you talked about, really wanting to tokenize real estate starting out. That was kind of your vision. You had the pilot, had it work successfully, yet investors weren't comfortable, giving you their assets for you to continue to tokenize that. From there, you talked about everyone being really interested in some of the back end technology of how you were managing what you called your back office. And that kind of helped you revisit where Agora was going. Tell us more about one, just what is Agora today and what was it about those conversations that gave you the clarity of what this thing needed to be?
Perfect. So today, Agora is an investment management software or platform for real estate syndicators, GPs, fund managers. And in a nutshell, we do two things. We delight investors and we help those who are owning and operating the real estate have a much, much, much easier life. Ditching the Excel spreadsheets, automating everything they can, having visibility on everything, and just focusing on building relationships and thinking strategy, not doing mundane tasks that could be automated in a manual way with cumbersome spreadsheets. That's what Agora does today in a nutshell. And going back to this aha moment that we've had in those conversations, when we saw that they were interested in this back office tool that we've built, well, we asked, why are you so interested? And then they pulled up this insane Excel spreadsheet and they told us, well, this is how I manage my life. And in those Excel spreadsheets, we saw sometimes billions of dollars
Wow. Wow.
in really, really, really insane, super complex, hard to maintain Excel spreadsheets. And I think that was the first aha moment when we understood two very, very basic problems. First, those operating, syndicating, managing funds, the GPs themselves, they are suffering from a huge like lack of efficiency, basically. They didn't really took technology into their internal stack. They were using emails, spreadsheets, manual reporting, Google Drive. And when you're managing maybe one deal, that's maybe okay. But if you're managing multiple deals, especially if you're managing like funds, especially if you're managing dozens of hundreds of investors, this becomes a complete nightmare. So that's one thing. Second thing is you have the investors themselves, the LPs. And as the LPs have much, much bigger expectations today, why? Because when they're investing in the stock market, they have their app on their phone and they have full visibility on their portfolio and they can see everything in a click of a button. Same thing with other investments or their bank accounts. But their real estate investments, for some reason, are still left behind. If they want the most simple information, they need to email someone from the firm or they need to pick up a call and then maybe an analyst or someone from the other end will have to open up 4 different spreadsheets, aggregate the information, and come back to them after a few hours. Uh, this was the first thing that we've noticed. And this is what Agora started off with. We just wanted to solve this issue. We wanted to delight investors and give them the 21st century experience they deserve and expect. And we wanted to have GPs ditching their Excel spreadsheets and joining the technological revolution. So that's in a nutshell how Agora started and what we're doing today.
No, I love it. You talked about those two problems, right? From a GP standpoint, if you're looking to raise capital for deals or you're already raising capital for deals, you got to manage that. Not just the capital itself, but all the communication, the K1 documents. You want to, manage your updates. You need a process for that. You need a management system to help you with that. So that's one of the things that Agora is built to help you with. But on the flip side of that, if you're an LP, you're an investor, listen, this is likely the largest investment you're going to make that's not a personal residence or a home or real estate yourself, right? So when you're talking about $50,000 or $100,000, there's an expectation that investors have of professionalism, of being able to see and track and identify documents and get that communication. And if this is something that you're looking to do professionally, well, you got to make sure you're presenting it that way. So definitely a tool and definitely something for us to keep in mind is you definitely want to make sure you're running a professional business if you're looking to raise capital. And if you're an investor, you want to look for that, right? You want to make sure that the reporting is professional, that the updates are professional, and you're in good hands when you're making these investments. Your role is interesting, right? When we talk about chief product officer, a lot of times we think of tech businesses and it's, hey, there was this idea, we launched it, and then that's it. As you and I know, technology is always evolving. Can you talk more industry wide? So, not necessarily exclusive to Agora, but as you step back and you look at how technology is evolving, particularly for real estate investors and more specifically for multifamily syndicators, what are some of the things we need to be paying attention to? And what are some of the things that you are, keeping in your radar?
That's a great question. So If we were to have this conversation a few years ago, I would have one answer, which I'm about to give. But since the AI revolution, I'll have an additional answer, which I'll add on top of that. So the first one is just software. So the software or SaaS, software as a service revolution, really touched a lot of industries. Anything from healthcare to construction to e-commerce, to really any vertical in our life has been revolutionized by software in the last 20 to 30 years, especially since cloud software has been around since like 2010 plus. It really took off, which where the software as a service platforms and startups that you know today really came to life. And I think in general, historically, and I think that's changing now, but the real estate vertical has been pretty slow to adapt those new technologies. And the reason is because the real estate industry in general is really built on a lot of relationships. It's a lot of people to people industry, a lot of like face to face communication, a lot of relationship building. And naturally, this industry doesn't go automatically to what's the latest and greatest in terms of tech and automation and all that. So it took some time. And we saw this happening in the property management industry at first. So if you were to go back like 20 years ago, property management was also done in a lot of Excel spreadsheets and a lot of inefficient workflows. And you saw this cycle where today no one does property management in Excel spreadsheets. Everyone uses some sort of an accounting property management solution because it became a standard. People understood that you will lose your mind if you do those stuff manually. And we saw the same vector happening in the investment management industry as well in real estate. So the entire domain that sits on top of property management, which is the actual investors, contributions, distributions, managing the reporting, the cap table, the strategic decisions behind where do I invest and how do I do that, the acquisition itself. This entire part, while property management moved on to adopt software, the investment and management space hasn't really. And that's what we have identified. And we see the next wave of automation coming. And so this is the first, most basic application of software. We can use software to help you just be more organized, be more free to do what you're actually good at, which is creating relationships, which is thinking strategically about your portfolio. And I think, and I'll say it bluntly, like today, if you're not using technology, you're not just behind, you're not just at a disadvantage. You're on your way to die, basically, at your business if you're not utilizing technology. Because no matter the industry, you're in a competitive space. And you have other people competing for the same deal, for the same investors' attention, for the same performance. And they're utilizing technology. They're there. And if you're not, it's not just a small disadvantage. It's really, really, really something you should pay attention to. So that's the first thing, just SaaS eating up the world and automating and helping people in every industry do better. Now, AI took this and is taking this to the next level. And so I'll stop here for a second before we go into AI, just to see if you have any thoughts on that, John.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you nailed it, right? You talk about software as a solution, and for some of us who are not in tech, those may just be words, right? We hear SaaS and software as a solution, but maybe some folks don't fully compute what that means, especially when you start talking about cloud services and all that kind of stuff. But the point is, technology makes it way easier to do things, tasks that used to take a long time, right? The things that used to be manual, the things that, you had to go in and download QuickBooks and go through your record keeping and upload, your receipts and all that stuff. All of that's automated now. So you can have all of that automated now. So it makes it so much easier. And there's an expectation across all of our lives. The fact that you and I are sitting here doing this on a Zoom link and we can talk and you're not even in the United States, I mean, that just goes to show how far technology has gone, right? I mean, if we were to try to do this, 15 years ago, on maybe Skype, it's like, oh, maybe, breaking up and really hard to get good quality and, it's real choppy. But this just goes to show how technology has evolved. And now you have access to people around the world. And, I mean, even with our firm, like if you were one of our investors, you might want to log in and check, hey, what's going on with my deal? Or hey, you post a K1 yet or whatever. Well, you waiting on me to wake up, is probably not ideal and convenient for you, right? So you've got to certainly leverage technology to kind of help you with some of these things. So you talked about that, which is one of the first things that technology has changed. The second part is AI. And I know for a lot of folks, when they hear AI, they immediately think of Chat GPT, right? Or they think of just bots, right? Just bots who are predicting or they got canned responses. When you think of AI, one, how do you frame it up? What is AI to you? And then where do you really see the implications coming for the multifamily industry?
That's a great question. So I'll try to break down how I see AI in three different levels.
Okay.
The first level is, as you said, ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is an AI module that has been trained on a lot of data, which I'm hoping our viewers and listeners are utilizing today in a lot of stuff in their daily life. Anything from, hey, help me do a grocery list, to travel plans, to stuff in my business. ChatGPT is amazing. It's great. There are other tools out there like Claude and Gemini and Grok and a lot of other tools. And they're all great in just those generic use cases. So, and this is the first level, just using AI to improve your life. There's so many things that you shouldn't be doing, honestly. Whether it's writing long emails and spending like an hour and a half drafting an email, you can do it in like 2 minutes with a first version from ChatGPT and then just editing the last few pieces. So that's level one, and that's generic. The second level of AI is, how do we take ChatGPT and we make it more specific to an industry, more specific to a vertical. And imagine ChatGPT that just has super specific context on real estate, or more specifically on multifamilies. Now, this ChatGPT is not just a generic one to help you in your day-to-day life. It has insights on multifamilies. It has insights that can help you. Hey, let's draft a business plan together. Let's do underwriting together. Let's maybe create a report together. And this more advanced level of ChatGPT is another level of utilization in multifamilies in general. And I'll give you some examples and some examples of how Agora utilizes it in our product today. And then the third and final level is, it's going to sound super technical, but that's the term. It's something fairly new, and it's called vertical AI agents. And it's basically, how do I make AI run by itself? If you're using ChatGPT today, you have to give it a prompt, right? You have to tell him, hey, Chat, please do this and that. And then he calculates and he gives you a text prompt. The next level after that is what we call agents. Agents are AI tools that can do stuff on their own. They don't need prompts. For example, you can train an AI agent to do a LinkedIn post for you every day on the same hour, and they know how you like to write. They have the context of your business, and then you have a full-time employee running by itself, doing LinkedIn posts for you, and that's one example of a vertical AI agent. And I think this will have an immense outcome and an immense impact on the industry in the next couple of years, because we will become so much more efficient. You will be able to automate a lot of stuff and really focus again on the stuff that AI can do, or tech can do, which is building relationships, thinking strategically, and doing what humans are doing best, and leaving the rest of it to software and AI and other stuff.
Yeah, you talked about those three layers. First layer being Chat GPT, more of a kind of you can call it search function, where you can call out, hey, here's something I want you to do. it spits it back at you, right? The second layer is really more of an advanced version where it's really more industry specific and it understands what you're trying to do. It understands multifamily. You can underwrite with it. You can review deals with it, right? It's now really developing this really advanced modeling, and then that third becomes almost like, again, a virtual assistant where you've got a vertical AI agent, as you recalled it, or as you referenced it. This vertical AI agent will help you really take on tasks, and you don't have to put in the prompts. In some regards, that seems awesome. And in some regards, that seems super scary. Like, to have this AI agent just, being able to run wild, probably concerns some people, like what is that like? Or am I overreacting? Is there uh a process that this vertical AI agent learns first and really make sure that they understand what they're doing? Will they just take over and fire me? Like, this almost gets to that iRobot or, crazy situation where the robots are taking over. But what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, there I think a few challenges in the actually implementing vertical AI agents in any industry now. So one is just context, right? If you're going to use AI agents, you're going to use them as like any other employee. So let's go back to this example of doing content writing,
Yeah.
right? So I don't want to hire someone and I don't want to do it myself. So I want to train an AI agent to do it for me. But how do I make sure that he doesn't mess things up and really messes up my LinkedIn account with bad posts? So first, I have to give them context. I have to give them a lot of different ideas, a lot of different references. Hey, look at those 50 posts that I made in the past year and see examples of actually how I like to write, my style, the stuff that I write about, the different references that I use, et cetera. So one problem is context. Second problem is connectivity. We want those agents to connect to our other tools, right? Our CRM, our emails. So they will have this connectivity to our business. And then final thing is the hardest one is accountability. We want them to be at the end of the day accountable, and that's the hardest thing to solve. So I think it will be gradual. It's not just like tomorrow morning robots and agents will replace all of us. But and this is really at the forefront of stuff. Like this is really from 2024, last few months.
Yeah.
I think anyone listening now, utilizing even ChatGPT or tools like Agora, which are on the second level there, is doing more than enough to really be ahead of the game and like automate a lot of stuff in their business and being more efficient.
Lior, I gotta laugh, man. You said when you're talking about accountability, I was thinking I'm picturing this vertical AI agent just quitting on you. Like they're just tired. Like, I quit this job, man. You suck. It's too much work, man. This dude's all like, like you talk about a labor shortage. We got technology coming in, and I'm just picturing these agents like, nah, this dude's asking me to do too much. So I mean, obviously, with AI and the accountability, I don't know. For my sense of humor is a little off this morning, but as I'm thinking about it, with people, you talk about like an employee, right? There's always that individual. There's the accountability. There's training. There's this whole process. The downside is, yeah, that person could leave. You have to create SOPs, right, and have these procedures in place. With this agent, they kind of stick with you, and you have the ability to train them, and they can get better and better over time, especially as they learn more and you give them more inputs. So this is something that certainly can help people. How I don't say how long does it take, but what does that process look like? I mean, is this something where you can go out there? Um, I don't know. Where do you start actually? What is that process? Where do you find an agent? Is there a certain source or website that you go to? Like, what's this first process or first step in the process to getting an AI agent?
So I think that before you go ahead and try to experiment with agents, I think you should start with uh, the first level of how can I find a great tool that will be easy to use, and will actually help me get the most amount of value in one place. And I'm going back to what Agora started off with, and what we were intending to do before even AI and all those other stuff. We just wanted to be a great tool for people to have better fundraising, better reporting, better compliance, better back office management. And when you started with the most basic stuff, I'll give you an example, like a CRM. The majority of fund managers and GPs that we're talking with on a daily basis, they don't even use a CRM. And CRM is not something at the forefront of technology with AI agents. It's something super simple. Like if I go to a conference now and I meet a bunch of investors, I need a place to take in their details, right? I need a place to manage my own tasks and reminders. I need a place where I can manage different relationships and pipelines and see where each relationship is at what step. Like that's basic rules that I have to follow in order to be organized, in order to be efficient. And even starting with those basics, like, am I utilizing a CRM today? Do I have a system in place to actually keep track of everything and that can serve me as I scale? Because again, if I'm having maybe one deal or maybe just a couple of investors, I can pull it off maybe with just doing stuff manually, but it's not going to work long time. It's not going to work at scale. And as you scale, things get messy really fast. So from the get-go, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to build a tool that does anything from investor portal, onboarding new investors in digital subscriptions, being compliant, a CRM, a tool for waterfall calculations and automations. The Excel's there as well. Create beautiful reports for your investors in a click of a button and customize them. Do the actual payments to investors. Like having this rich flow in one place is super important. And when we looked at the current solutions, we saw a few things. And I think as you're looking for this tool or any tool that will help you, you need to look at a few requirements or criteria there. So one is just user experience. Because I think a lot of the tools out there, and especially if you're not tech savvy, if you're more focused on building relationships, on building a legacy, like you're thinking about your next strategic acquisition, and you're not so tech savvy, you don't want to mess with cumbersome tools. You don't want to mess with long onboarding processes, with stuff you have to get hours and hours of training because you won't implement it in your daily life. For a tool to actually take part in your daily life, it should be easy. Snap, like it's just there. You understand it. So user experience. And when we saw some of the other tools out there that people were using, if they're not using Excel, which is the majority, they were really clunky, really tough to use, and they really looked like Windows 95 from like 30 years ago. So that's just one thing we wanted to change. We wanted to build a product that is very robust and can do the most insane waterfall calculations and automate like digital subscriptions, but easy. Just be easy with a very nice user experience, especially if you're talking about investors that just want to log in, see their K1 and performance. Especially if we're talking about investors, they want as easy as it gets. So that's one thing. The other thing is just functionality. So we wanted to have everything in one place. Like if you are utilizing a CRM, but this CRM doesn't speak with how you do signature signings, and this doesn't speak with how you do reporting, and this doesn't speak with your documents drive, it also becomes a mess. So using a lot of tools that don't connect is also a bad idea. And that's why we wanted to pack everything into one place as much as possible. And within those different features, we wanted to take functionality to the max. So I'll give you one example. So capital raising, that could be a headache, right? It's like it's tough enough to convince people to trust you with their hard-earned money, and it's hard enough to find the right asset to invest in. But there's so much things in the middle, like making the subscription agreements, actually tracking everything, being compliant, creating a data room, so many things. And when we looked at like some of the other tools out there, apart from being like a silo tool, they were just not good enough. They were not good enough because the investors didn't have a good experience there. If an investor goes in and wants to sign a subscription agreement, they want it to be easy, and you want it to be easy for them, because any friction in the process is one more challenge they have to face, one more risk for you to add for not taking that investment. So we try to take all these different pillars to the max. So we've created an AI tool that can take any subscription agreement, basically, and turn it into a beautiful digital questionnaire that is super, super simple and customized for the investor. So if it's an institutional investors from Florida, they might see one thing. If it's an individual investor from New York or a foreign investor, they see another thing. We really wanted to create an easy, super customizable experience that uses technology to the max and just provides a very automated experience for everything. So user experience, functionality, and having this unified toolbox is what you should be looking for when you're talking about products. And if you're utilizing this product today, you're already like top of your game before AI agents or any other top frontier stuff.
Lior, I love it. I mean, my takeaway from what you just said was there's a lot that's coming down the pipeline, a lot of things that, you can get into, but before just jumping into everything, focus on what you're actually solving for. And for most of us, that's going to be driving efficiencies in our real estate business, particularly if you're in multifamily syndication. Having a tool like Agora can help you do that. For folks that want to learn more, they can go to agorareal.com. We will make sure we put a link to that in the show notes where you can check it out there. Right now, we're going to transition to our round of insights. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to grow as a multifamily investor, you have to spend more time with other multifamily investors. And an easy way to do that is to join our apartment investing mastermind group today. Just go to casmoncapital.com and click on the mastermind button. Now, as a part of this group, you'll get access to expert trainings, group coaching calls, industry news and updates, as well as all of our webinars and workshops, including our 3-hour workshop on raising capital. Again, if you want to be around other multifamily investors that can help you scale your portfolio today and grow your network, make sure you're a part of the Apartment Investing Mastermind. Just go to casmoncapital.com and click on the Mastermind button today. All right, Lior, give me a failure or an apparent failure that sets you up for later success.
So I actually think that the story that I shared in the beginning was a good example of a big failure. Like, we spent an entire year working on something that ended up not being what the market wanted at the time. Like that just didn't work. But from this failure, we managed to pivot and actually find what works. And it's a funny thing with startups in general. I think that even YouTube started as a dating app. Like, a lot of different startups start with one idea and they pivot to a completely different direction. Because once you're in the market, and it's the same for real estate or any other vertical, once you're in there, you're talking with the users, you're talking with the industry. Even if you're not in the right direction at first, you're going to find the right direction because you're in there, you're interacting, you're learning, you're adjusting. So I think that was like a failure that eventually set us up for success today. And just because we haven't mentioned it so far, today we're working with more than 700 GPs and fund managers across the world, mainly in the United States, but from Europe, Australia, Latin America, as well. More than 250 billion worth of dollars of assets are managed through Agora. Today, we are almost at 200 employees with offices both in Tel Aviv and Australia and the States. So, and we're just getting started. We have so much value more to give. And if we haven't had this failure at the beginning, learning and pivoting, we wouldn't create Agora as it is today.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for our listeners.
Wow, so we already covered ChatGPT as a resource, and we're using so many tools on my day-to-day. I think two tools that I would recommend for anyone to start using, which are super, super simple and effective. One is Miro. That's one tool that I love using, which is good for just mind mapping. I love opening up Miro, and let's say I have an idea. I have a huge project that I'm trying to figure out, but you have so many thoughts, so many ideas in your mind. I just open up Miro. I just start dragging and dropping different circles and boxes and texts, and I'm just trying to map out everything that I have in my mind into something visual. So I love using Miro for everything that needs deep thinking and collaboration. So that's one tool. And another tool I would mention is Notion. Notion is another tool I use daily. It's a great tool to just organize information, organize thoughts, collaborate on as well, like anything from preparing for meetings to just saving up a lot of information, ideas for later, like creating tables of different stuff. So Notion and Miro are just amazing, awesome tools to just help you think better.
Love it. Great tools right there. Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
Wow, that's a great question. I love to read books. One book that I read a couple of times by now, which honestly not a lot of people know, which is surprising. It's called the Bezos Letters, and it's a book about Jeff Bezos from Amazon. And every year, Jeff would write a letter to the shareholders of Amazon. And in this letter, he would lay out the strategy, just general thoughts on the product, on the clients, on where they're heading. And this book basically takes all the letters that Jeff did in the last 20 years, digesting those letters into actionable insights. And I just love this book. So many nuggets of information there. One of the main things I remember from the book is customer obsession. One of the things that Jeff tried to implement in Amazon's culture from day one was obsessing over the customer. And this was like a top priority. And every company says that, but Amazon really managed to do it in really obsessing every last detail of what the customer wants. Is that feature or is that thing that we're working on really improves the customer life? If not, ditch it. We're not doing it. We're only doing what really improves the customer life. And I think going back to some of the things that drive us today in Agora, a part of just like being functional and user experience and all that, I think as a culture, being customer obsessive in any industry, by the way, it could be us like a tech company building a product, or it could be a real estate syndicator that their users are the investors. If you're obsessed about your customers and you're working day in, day out to improve their lives, you just, that's the best thing you can do. Like that's you're going to be successful. So I just love this book, The Bezos Letters, so many nuggets of information there.
Love it. Sounds like a great book. I'll have to put that on the list there. Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
Wow, another great question. I think a great hack that I use, and again, it sounds obvious, but not a lot of people do it. I have a lot of meetings. As you run a company, you run a business, you have meetings booked from like morning to night. And I love that a meeting is effective. Like, I don't like meetings where time is wasted or time could be much more productive. And some people just fill out their schedules with meetings and they feel productive, but they could be doing something much bigger and better in that time. So one of the things that I constantly do is I audit my calendar, and I do two things. One, I look at my calendar. If that's a meeting that I feel that could be much shorter, I make it shorter. If that's a meeting that I feel I don't have a lot to contribute, maybe that's a meeting with a lot of people, and I don't feel like I'm super important there, I just decline the meeting. And if that's a meeting that could be replaced in like a short phone call or maybe just a text message. So I try to minimize meetings in order to have as much focus time as possible. And in the meetings that I do have, I have a ceremony that I do every day. So the night before, I just look at the meetings, and I use Notion to do that as well. So I have my Notion calendar, basically. And within Notion, I have this list of meetings that I have for the next day. And for every meeting, I'm taking a few minutes to just come prepared, to jot some ideas, to figure out what we're trying to achieve in this meeting. Once I get to the actual meeting, first, I'm feeling much more prepared and confident in like the stuff that I want to achieve and the ideas I want to brainstorm together there. And I feel like my time is really productive. So it sounds really obvious, but not a lot of people do it. Just like really, really manage the meetings that you're taking, because it takes so much of your calendar and time. So they better be effective.
I love it. Great point there on managing your calendar. Give me your number one insight for incorporating technology into your multifamily business.
So I think going back to everything we spoke about earlier, I think that implementing technology is just a shift. And I see it happening in the industry. A shift of I'm implementing technology not to get an edge. It's not to get an edge. Like 5 years ago, it would get an edge. This is the basic bread and butter of the business. This is like the permission to play now. It's not the winning strategy. It's like the permission to play. This is the baseline. This is just a mental shift that I think the entire industry has to do. If you're not using technology today, you're losing. And within the leveraging of technology itself, I think going back to what I said, think about easy to use, functional tools that again use everything in one place. You don't want 20 different tools that you won't end up actually implementing and utilizing. And I'll just mention Agora as well, and then what we're trying to do. You can visit agorareal.com to just see the stuff that we're doing in our website and the amount of value that we're trying to provide there. We're trying to build the operating system for fund managers, syndicators, GPs. So literally everything that is the headache will be in Agora. And everything that is building relationships, thinking strategically, and making the business bigger, they can spend their time doing. So that's my one insight for everyone trying to implement technology into their day-to-day life.
All right, let's go in a different direction. You are in Tel Aviv. I know you commute between Tel Aviv and New York. So I'll let you pick the location, but give us your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
Wow. So I think actually both Tel Aviv and New York are like amazing places for food. I think in Tel Aviv, we have one of the best burgers that I've ever ate. It's called Vitrina. If you're around Tel Aviv, you should definitely check Vitrina burgers out. I ate a lot of burgers, like in Europe, in Asia, in the States. That's the best one I had, honestly. So just a shout out to Vitrina Burgers in Tel Aviv.
Vitrina, you said?
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to check that out, put that on the list. Great stuff there. Lior, a few things jump out from our conversation. One is just your understanding of technology. You started off with Agora with one vision of tokenizing real estate. From there, you ended up pivoting to more of a back-end software solution and recognizing the inefficiencies that many investors face, right? Whether it be from managing LP documents to just overall operating and asset management of the deal. That was one of the solutions you were able to find. And you mentioned one thing about really making sure that we leverage technology where it can make our lives easier and ensuring that these tools really address these problems. A lot of times when you think about software, there's one software solution, but it doesn't work across the board with your CRM or anything else. So now you still have to manually do all that work. So when you can have it all working together, that's when you can really get some efficiency. So I really appreciate you sharing those insights on our during our conversation today. Lior, thanks again for being a great guest. For those who want to learn more, go to agorareal.com, which is linked in our show notes. Lior, we appreciate your time today. We look forward to staying in touch with you and hope you have a great day.